we'll start with basic demonstration of BMC Remedy. We will understand the basic architecture of BMC Remedy, how BMC Remedy is being built, and how it functions as an application for the end customers. So as you can see on the screen, we have three layers, in fact 4 layers of architecture for BMC Remedy. So 3 tiers are for the application and 1 is for the data tier, which is for the database. So BMC Remedy is divided into these 4 tiers, where you will see the first is a client tier. Client tier is a tier where we have all the desktop applications like user tool, BMC mid tier, or any other client tool through which we will connect to the Remedy. The second is the mid tier. Mid tier is basically a web server which is deployed on a particular web server, and then it helps us in accessing the application from the web itself. Then it sends the request to the next level of which is the server tier. So here AR system server will process all the requests coming from all the clients, whether it's a mid tier, it's a user tool, or any other client, and then it processes it. It fetches the data from the database system and then returns back the result to the web tier. So this is just a basic architecture of BMC Remedy, and all the applications we built on this Remedy, they function accordingly. Now I will show you in the system how exactly these are being set up. So this is first of all, let's have a look at the AR server. So this is an AR server service. You can see this is an AR server service. So if in case you want to start or stop your AR server service, you have to go to the services manager if it's a Windows environment. In case it's a Linux environment, then also the procedure is a little bit different, but it is somewhat similar to the starting up service in Linux. So you can see the service is here, and then if you have installed BMC Remedy on a particular server, so there's a folder structure created automatically. I'll show you that. So if I go here, CM program files, BMC software, AR system, and it will have all the files relating to the AR server. In case you want to see the log structure, that also is possible through this directory. So we'll not go much in detail into this directory. We'll see it in the coming videos. Now the second part which we have here is the mid tier. So mid tier is basically the layer which provides us access to the application through a web tier. So here we can see we can access this mid tier through this particular URL, which is normally a URL we use in accessing a web tier, like host, then :port, then /arcs, and then you will be redirected to this particular page, and then you can log in with the credentials. We will not log in as of now. This we will see in the future videos. Now the other part of this is the client applications. So in earlier days we used to have these desktop applications like user tool, import tool, or developer tool, but now there are going forward in the latest versions of Remedy, we have changed some of them. Like now the user tool is not, which is a thick client basically, it is not being now used. Similarly, we have some other tools which are now legacy tools. We don't use them as of now. We don't use them. We only use this web tier to access the application. But there is one specific tool which we use, and that's called Developer Studio. So I can show you this. So again, in this also we can directly log in using the credentials, admin credentials, and this basically is a console where we do all the development of BMC Remedy. So in future videos I will explain you how we will do the development, what are forms, active link, filters, escalations, everything I will explain you in future videos. So this is just a basic architecture of BMC Remedy as of now. Thank you.
Okay, so now first of all we will see what are different types of forms. Then we will take this regular form, and on that we will add some fields, and then I'll explain you what are regular fields on that, and then we will go on to the designing. Okay, so we will just spend some time on this part. We'll understand each of the forms, and then we will go on to the other part, which is the designing the application. Now, if you see here in Remedy, this forms, all the forms you create, they are stored here in this component called forms. So now if I have to create a new form, when I am logged in into Developer Studio, I just need to go to this forms object. I need to right click on it. It will give me an option to create different types of forms. First is a regular form. Then we have a join form. We have a display only form. We have a new vendor form, and we have a view. So now let me take it one by one. So regular form. So regular form is basically a form which we used on our day-to-day operations. So whenever you want to create any table, you want to create any form where you want to store a data. Let's suppose you want to create a form to store task data. Or yesterday we created 3 different forms. We created a customer form. This one we created to store customer data. So this is a regular form. Similarly, we created a task form to create tasks and store tasks. So this is also a regular form. Then also we created a trouble ticketing form in our application where we were also storing data. So that also is a regular form. Then we just saw an example on this HPD help desk. This also is a regular form. But here you can see, we will come to this on the designing part. Okay. But as of now, this is just a regular form. So similarly, whenever in your project you have a requirement to store a data, or it will be used in across applications, it will be used to store your data. It can be operational data, for example, data which is generated by tickets, which is generated by different tasks, which is generated by different assignments, or it can also store the foundation data. Foundation data means whenever you are building your application, maybe there is something you need to store earlier and then reuse it in the application. For example, yesterday we saw we can build this customer data as a data form. So here we can build the customer information in this form, and then we can use it in the ticketing. So that also can be done through a regular form. This is a normal database table which stores data for you. Now then you can create your own fields here that we have already seen. If you right click here, go to this create new in current view, and then you can add these number of fields here on this form. Some of these fields are for designing, some of them are for capturing the information from customer, but this is a normal regular form which we use on daily basis to store the data. Now when you add this form, you can see I haven't added any field up till now. So but by default it has added these fields onto this form. So this is a Remedy default practice. Whenever you add a regular form to Remedy system, it will add these core fields. We call them core fields. So you can see here there are around 8 to 9 fields which are added to the system, and these all fields are considered as core fields. So now you might be wondering that why BMC has added these fields on this. There is no any specific purpose for these fields. The basic purpose of these fields, which BMC or any developer who created this system had, that whenever you create a regular form, because Remedy system, what is full form of AR system? It is action request, means that I will request something and then there will be action on it. Okay, that's why it was called action request system. So I will create a request, then somebody will act on it. Now to ease out, to give you a flow, to create a data form, they have given us some of the fields which are automatically available to us. For example, you don't have to generate an ID on this field, or on this form. You will automatically get a request ID. This is a primary key in the table. If you go here, the ID for this also will be 1. Okay, you can see here by default it is 15 characters is the length of this particular ID. This is a request ID or a primary key. We can say in database terms, this is a primary key of this form. So you can use it or you can keep it as it is, but this a particular field, it plays a very key role in maintaining the integrity and consistency of the data, because this acts as a primary key, and also in case of searching, pushing the data to this form from a different sources, this can be used. But you can create your own separate custom key which you can use it. Then we have submitter. Submitter is a normal, in what we are expecting here is we need to add a person who is submitting this request. So whenever you are submitting a request, it has to it will capture the user. So then you will come to know that any person who has created a record on this form, it will capture his ID. Then you will come to know that who has basically created a request on this. So let's for example, I'll open this submitter. Then I will go here in the attributes. So you can have in the attribute section, there's a value called default value. What you can do, you can just set this value. Okay. So once this value is set, then what I can do, I can go in the display section, I can make this visible false. Okay, so now whenever any person will come on this form, he will not be able to see this. But when he will request something on this form, or he will create a record on this form, his user ID will be captured. So that way, you will not allow user to see this, and also you will create, or you will capture his user ID into this field. Then tomorrow, if let's say there is some modification, there are some issues happening on any of your application, you'll be able to trace that who had submitted this. So that is the main use of basically this field. Or then we have create date. Create date captures the date when you submit a request. So whenever I go on this form, for example, we go here. Let me go to this new TT. So here, if I open a new request, then if I create something here, let's say I create anything. I save it. Now let me search for this record. So you can see here, just now I created this. Okay. So see, the create date has been set as today's date, 9:26 a.m. 4/3/2004, because I just submitted it. This is a system field. It's a read-only field. I haven't set any properties of this field. By default, it's a read-only field. You cannot make changes to this field. So with this, you will get the submit date. Submit date means whenever the request on that particular form was submitted. Now similarly, you can see here I did not put anything, but I had used a default value of user. So it captured my user ID, which is L. But now if I make this disable, then I also will not be able to see it or make any changes to it. Okay. So this is just the basic create date and submit. Now let's go back to the developer studio. Then we have this assigned to last modified by and modified date. Modified date is again a date when you will make a modification. So for example, if I go here, I don't know if this will delete. So I'll just save it. You can see here, this modified date currently is similar to your create date. Okay. I'm making a modification. No, I think we have written some workflow on it, so that's why it's giving us errors. We have to use a separate form. Wait. This one. We will remove these because this was done as part of yesterday's. Or we'll take this TMS task. Okay, I'll open a new request. Let me create something here. Okay. Let's see here. I just created this request 928, 928. So the modify and create date is same. Okay. But in real time scenarios, this can differ. Okay. So now I will go here and I'll just make changes. You can see here the modified date has changed. Okay. But this create date will remain same. So with this, you will come to know that this record was created on 9:28 a.m., but somebody modified it on 9:28:41 a.m. Okay, this is very important. This create date and modify date. This helps you in tracking modifications on that particular record, creations on that particular record. So that is why these fields are, that's the reason these fields are added and they are used. By default, they are grayed out. You cannot make changes to them. These are all grayed out. Last modified by will capture the user who modified it. Now let's say I am logged in as an Alan, and then I will log in. I will log in as a Sandeep. I will open this form, make a modification. It will capture my ID. So it will say last modified by Sandeep, or whosoever modifies it in the after opening this record. So that is how it will capture. Now we can see there are 9 fields on as core fields, but here I can see only how many? 6 plus 2, 8 fields. There is one more field which is a hidden field, that is status history. So that status history field captures the history of this status field. So this status field, this is just a normal field. You can use it in your application. You can make changes to it. These all core fields have their IDs. They have a specific IDs, database IDs I'm talking about. For example, request ID, it is 1. Okay, then submitter will be 2 always. You can see here, it is 2. Then create date is 3. Then assigned to is, we haven't discussed assigned to, we will discuss, is 4. Then last modified is 5. This is 6. This is 7. So always remember the status field on your form is 7. You can use it in your application. You can also use short description. By default, submitter, status, and short description are mandatory. So you make whenever you are pushing data to this form, whether it is from your front end or any application, you are creating something, you need to make sure that you are adding values to these fields. By default, status takes a new value because it's a radio button. It takes a new value, but these fields, submitter and short description, you need to give values. Either you default them or you add some value to those fields. Now, these 2 fields, BMC recommends not to use the core fields. Okay, you can create your own fields, use them, but you can use some of the fields like status. You can use, short description you can use. So these you can use. Even create date you can use for your, let's say instead of create date, you just want to rename this to request date. That you can use. So then it will help you in having less number of fields on the form. If let's say you have, but normally BMC does not recommend us to have create date. Sorry, BMC does not recommend us to have make use of these 4 fields. Okay, we saw create date, we saw request ID, we saw submitter, last modified by, modified date, status, and submitter. Submitter is just a normal character field. Sorry, short description is just a normal character. Now what we didn't saw is assigned field. If you see assigned field is, it has a very important role to play. This ID is 4. Now this particular field, this particular field assigned to is used to define the row level security of your record. So what is row level security? Row level security means that if I have, let's say, 3 records in a form, same form, this one, okay, but there are 2 users. I want one user to see 2 records and one user to see 1 record. Row level security means there is security at the record level. Normally what we do, we give permissions to people. Like let's say for this form, I'll go here and give permissions. Okay, from here I define my permissions to the form. Then I go to the field, I define my field permissions, and then people will be able to access it. But row level security means in the same form there are, let's say, 10 records. out of these 10 records, one user will be able to see 5 and one will be able to see the rest 5. They will not be able to see each other's record. That's called row level security. Even if they have access to the form, they have access to the fields. When they perform a search, they will not be able to search. That is achieved by assigned to particular field. So what you do, you create a group. In the group, you give permissions to certain people. Then when you are creating a record, you have to just push this group name to this field. Once it is pushed to this field, then any person who has, let's say I have created a record and that record has group 1 in the assigned to field. So the people only from group 1 will be able to access that record. If person from some other group will try to access it, search it, he will not be able. Okay. This is called row level security. So that is achieved with this 4 field. Okay. Now we have seen regular form. Then display only form we have already seen. Let's quickly because we have already this console which we created yesterday. This one. This is a display only form. So display only form is a form which does not store anything of its own. Okay, you cannot create any records from the display only form, but this display only form is used to design the front end of the application. Suppose you need to create an interface on which you want to give links to the user to access, to click. So that is called front end of the application. That can be designed using this particular form. From this form, you can submit data to any regular form, any join form, but you cannot define any data here on this form because this display only form is a form which is used only for front end operations. You cannot do any database operations on this form. Suppose if I want to create a filter on this form, I cannot do it because this is a display only form. I can write filters on this, but I can just take the transactional data, push it to some other form. On this form, it will not store anything. Okay, this is just basic display only form. So if whenever you are creating an application, the front end you will build, the front end interfaces you will build using display only. Like for example, yesterday we built this particular front end. We will design this now. In the design section, we will design this. This is a display only form. From here, we will then move on to the regular form. So the data created here will be pushed to the regular forms. Then we have this, join form. Now let me click here on join form. I'll show you. Now join form is nothing. If you know from your data, like people who have studied computer science, there we are taught a concept called join tables, right? So we have 2 database tables. We create a join of those 2 database tables. So that join can be inner join or outer join. So that is this join. That is this join form all about. It does not have any more significance than being a database join table. So let's say, for example, if you want to create a join table, you have to use minimum 2 forms. Then maximum you can use multiple forms, but minimum 2 forms should be there to create a join. For example, if now I will use my OS3 task, I'll use my trouble ticket. Then I will primary form I have added, and the secondary form I will use this task form. Okay, then I will say next. Okay, now it will give me an option to create either inner join or outer, which I was talking about. So if you select outer join, it will define outer join. Outer join will always match the matching records. Matching records means we have to define a criteria for this. Let's say I need to create this inner join. What it will do, it will check from my first from. I have to define this join criteria. For example, if I have, in any case, in inner or outer join, I need to define my matching criteria. But when I define this criteria, it should be defined on a unique field. For example, in this case, I have in my trouble ticketing, there's a trouble ticket number. Both forms should have the same field on which you want to define a join. Otherwise, you cannot create a join. So both forms should have a unique key on which you will define the join. So let's say, is it okay? I will be needed for request ID. So I will use this one as request ID is equal to then TMS task request ID. Let me use this one. Okay. Now what it will do in case of inner join? It will check records. It will take a record from trouble ticketing, this form. Then it will take a record from TMS task and it will try to match it based on the request ID. If there is a match, then it will display the data on this join that we will see. In case of outer join, as my trouble ticketing is primary form, it will, as Gaurav said, it will take all the records from this form, trouble ticketing, and then it will also take matching records from TMS task, all records which are matching based on this request type. Okay. Now let me click on next. Then this is where you will add fields which you want in this join. So I will add some fields here. Okay. Now it will give you fields which are to be added from primary form. You can see here at the top it is given primary form field selection. Then I would say next. So then I have to select fields from secondary. We'll select some of the fields only. Okay. Now you can see here it has added these fields here. So, but now it's not only now you can you have added the fields and later you cannot. You have to just right click here. Then you can see here there is an option called add fields from trouble ticket, add fields from TM task. So you can later also add the fields. Now, but as of now, let's save this. I would say OSC, we have to give it the same name. Okay, OP. I'll give it just a name. TROPVL trouble ticket underscore task. Let me copy this thing. Okay, now I will give this name, and now let's see what it will look like in the front end. Okay. So let me OS3 trouble. Okay. In the name I have given underscore TMS task underscore join. TMS task join. The name is correct, it will bring up the phone. If the naming is not correct, OS3 colon P colon colon. Okay, now if I perform a search here, you see here it has given me 2 requests. The request ID it is displaying here will be request ID for both the forms. It is currently, if you see here on this form, trouble ticketing, how many records I have? I have 2 records with 0 and 4 and 5 ID. So what I will do here on TMS talk also I will search. So here also I have 4 and 5. Now let me do one thing. Let me go to here trouble ticketing. I'll create some record here. Okay, now here you'll see here there are 3 records here, right? But in TMS task I have only 2 records. So now let me refresh this. So it will only display these 2 records because it is only matching record number 5 and record number 4. Record number 6 here It's there in the trouble ticketing, but on task, it's not there. Now, if I create a new record here, which is matching with that, sorry, I'm using both. This OS3 TMS task. Yeah, so here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of this, 4 and 5 are only matching with my join criteria. That is why it is displaying only these two records. Now, what is the main use of this join form? In some places where you need to represent or you need to get data from two different tables, you need to put it in one form so that you can search it, you can update it, or you can process it, or you can pull the data. Let's suppose I have a requirement, I need to display data onto my table on a table, or I need to pull data from tasks as well as from the trouble tickets. So then in that case, I will create a join. I will define a join, something like this, which I have already done here. So I will define a join here, and then based on this join, I will get this information stored at one place. Okay, it will give me a placeholder which will have records both from task as well as from from your trouble ticket, or basically tickets. So this is how join form works. You can create multiple layers of the join form. Now you can also define one join with this. You can also define one join which will be with this itself. For example, I have defined one join between two forms. Then I can take third form and I will define join with this form. Depending on the criteria, you can go to up to 4, 5 levels. There isn't as such any limit, but if you consider the performance wise, BMC recommends only to go till 4 to 5 levels. Beyond that, it will create some performance issues for you. But till 4 levels, you can define these joins. So sometimes you need as part of the requirements, you need to present the data in group in one place, but when the data is segregated, you can use this join. Okay. Now we have two new forms called vendor form and view form. This vendor form, we are not using it quite frequently now. Earlier it was used, but nowadays we are not using it, but still we'll just have an overview of it. So vendor form is a form which you can define based on if you by vendor means, what do you understand by a vendor? So suppose if I have an internet service provider, so internet service provider is my vendor, so he's providing me services. I am his customer. I am consuming his service. Similarly, for an organization, if you have a vendor for an organization, they can provide you different type of services. For example, they will give you facilities, they will give you internet, they will give you some other services. So it is providing you that. Similarly, here in the vendor form, if I'm defining a vendor form, the data is being provided by somebody else. Okay, it is provided through this link. So you need to create this plugin, vendor plugin. Then once you define this plugin, then you can define a vendor form. So normally we used earlier, there was not much use of it in earlier times also. It was only used for defining the integration with LDAP. If you want to define an integration with LDAP, so then we used to have this vendor form from which we will get the data from your Active Directory. And then we will use to do operational. Let's say I need to import data from Active Directory to my system, then we use this vendor form. But now the technology has changed. We have other mediums, ways to define it, and much easier ways to define it. So that's why it's not being used that much, because for this also you need to define a plugin and you need to write a plugin. So that plugin it will use. If you go to this plugins directory, there you will see that these plugins are already defined there. Then you have to register this plugin. You need to add this into registry on BMC Remedy. You need to add this into the registry. Then it will be available. For example, if I use this vendor, this plugin, click on next, then it will give me option through that plugin which tables are available to me. For example, this result list simulation is available to me. I would say next. Then I can add fields, whatever fields I need from that particular, and then it will give you this. Okay, then it can be used as a normal regular form, but here the data is not coming residing here in Remedy. This data is coming from outside. We are pulling it through a plugin. So always remember that whenever you want to define a vendor form, you need to have first plugin, then you have to register that plugin in your registry, then you will be able to use it. Otherwise it cannot be used. But I haven't seen much use of this vendor form as of now.
Today we will move on to the workflow part. So the first workflow which we will see in Remedy are active links. So now what exactly are active links? So if you are familiar with the programming language, you know there is a code which executes on the server side and there is a code which executes on a client side. So what's a client side and what's a server side? Client side is basically when people are interacting with the system, when they're interacting with the forms and they're performing certain actions on the forms. So the form itself acts as a front end or a client end for that particular person. The server is when this particular request is submitted to a server who will further process it and then get back the result to the user. Now in terms of Remedy, the active links are basically a code or a workflow which executes on a client side. So they are used to put certain restrictions on a client level, which means that when a request is submitted to a server, it should be a clean request. That means all the client side validations, all the data corrections are done at a client level using active links. We will not send a request to the server unless and until it is processed by it's processed by active links, it's validated by active links, and then it's further sent to the server. So this helps us in improving the performance of a system. So active links are already used active links are always used to put client side validations on any application. Now we will see how we can create active links. Then using an example, we will see what are the actions available in the active links. So to create a new active link, you have to go to this object explorer in Remedy and you have to right click here, say new active link. Now the first thing you will select here is the form. That means the form on which you want to execute this active link. So we will first of all go here, click on add button. So I have created a form, new display form. I will just use it. So you can use any form, regular display only form. Active links can be written on any form. Now we will go to the second option is permissions. Now this permission is a very big topic in BMC Remedy. To just get you a basic understanding is the permission helps us in restricting people or restricting users to perform certain actions. So in Remedy, permissions play a very important role in workflow as well as in the forms. So you can create your groups, you can create your roles, or you can create your permission sets. Then you can write workflow which will execute only if the people have those permissions. So similarly in active links, if you want to execute an active link on a particular action and only certain people should be able to execute it, you can do it. So as of now, let me just select a basic. If you want to basic permission, if you want to run active link on all the if you want to run active link irrespective of any permissions, you have to just select a public permission. This means that active link will execute always, whether the user is a restricted user or he's a normal user. So it will execute always. So let me select this because we will not go deep into the permissions of now. Then we have another option is called execute options. So execution option means that on what triggers or on what events the active link should execute. So we have number of options here. We have n number of options available in active link. So some of them are here like submit, modify, search, display. Submit means when a request is submitted. So when you are performing a submit operation on a form, and if you write this active link on submit, this active link will execute. Similarly, we have modify, search, display. Search means when you are searching on a form. Modify obviously is when you're modifying a record. Then display means when the record is being displayed on a form. Then we have set default, window closed, windows open. So these are all different set of actions, like when window is closed, when window is open, window is loaded. So they have their own use in Remedy. So now, but as of now, for a basic understanding, we will only see active link on a click of a button. So now we have more options here. So if you now want to execute active link on a particular field, then you have this option where you can select this field. If let's say, for example, I select this field, so these all options are enabled. So you can write this, you can basically run this active link on lose focus of the field, on return of the field, which means if somebody presses an enter. Similarly, there are other options like hovering on the field, hovering on the data. So we will not use this option as of now. I will go directly to this option, which is clicking a button. So here, if I click it, you will see I get option to select buttons. So now if I want to execute an active link on a button, so I have to use this option here. Now here I will select this set option. I will select this button. Okay, now when I click this button, this active link will execute. Now there may be some cases where I need to execute this active link on a certain conditions. So that I can define here. That in all programming languages we have if-else condition. That means if this is if the value is greater than this, then this should execute. If value is less than this should execute. Similarly, we have a number of conditions to use in programming language. So this is where you basically define those conditions for an active link. If I let's say I am currently writing this active link in a display only form. So my condition here is, let me click here, then I will select this. I have created this condition field, so I will use condition field is equal to yes. I will explain you later in the example how we will use it. So if this says if condition is equal to yes, then this should execute. I think we're getting some. So if now there are some if there is some issue with it, this will become a red. That means the value is not correct, or we are not using it. Let me use this number not equal to null. This is just for illustrative purposes, or just for example understanding. I will take it more detail in the example. Then there we have two conditions: if actions and else action. That means if this condition is true, then this if actions will execute. If this is false, else actions will use. But normally, as a standard practice, we never use this else condition in active link. But if you want, you can use it. So let me say if action. Now if I go here, if I right click this, and then if I go here add actions, so I have number of actions available with me. So in an example, I will explain you set field and open field, but you have another options available in the active link. I will take them in the future videos. So let's say if I select this set field action. Now set field is basically an action where you can set a value on a particular field. It can be a character field, it can be an integer field. The value can be on a current form where you are setting a value from one field to another field, or you can pull value from another form based on certain conditions. For example, current screen means you are setting value on the current form. If you want to pull value from some other form, you have to select here the server option. Then you will get this option available, that you can select form, you have to select qualification, then you can create you can map field with values between the two forms to set the value. But as of now, just for understanding, I will use only current action, and here I will let's say put this field result. This is one of the field I created, and then I will put some value here. Let's say number 1 plus number 2. So it will basically put the addition of these two fields, whatever values I put in these two fields, in this particular result field. So I will explain you with more this understanding with an example. For you, I have created this form. So this is a form which I have created, and I will explain you this. So we will see now how an active link can be used as a workflow, how we can trigger actions with the help of an active link. Just for understanding what I have done, I have created a form. You can see I have added a number of fields on this form. So these are two integer fields. This is a character field, and this is again an integer field. Plus I have added two buttons on the form, which is a set field action and open window action. Plus I have also added a conditional field. So what we have done, basically we have written two active links. One will execute on this button, the another one will execute on this button. So these are the two active links which we have added. You can see in this active link what I have done. In the run if condition, I have mentioned if the condition is true, then this active link should execute. That means in this form, in this radio button, if the condition is set as true, then only this active link will execute. So what I will do in this active link, so there are two set field actions in this active link. One set field action is it will set a value number 1 plus number 2 in a result field. Similarly, the other set field, it will also do the same, but it will add it into another field. So now what is the difference between these two? One field which I have taken in a result is a character field, the another one is an integer field. So we'll explain you or we will see what will happen if we will do an addition and add it to a character field and integer field. What will be a difference between them? So we will see this. Similarly, on this open window button, I have added an active link where I have added an open window action. So in the action, if you go to actions, right click, you will see all the actions in the add action window. So you can also add set field, or you can add an open window action. Open window action means that if you use this action, you can open another window from a click of a button. So sometimes in a form we need to open some dialog windows for a purpose of entering some data and then saving it. So this is the purpose of opening a window. Now in Remedy, you have a number of options in opening a window. You can open a dialog window, you can open a search form, submit form, modify, display, report, and then more options you have. These are all advanced options. Once you are familiar with the basic operation of opening a window, you can then go into these advanced options. Now opening a window means you need to first of all use this you have to fill certain parameters, like data source will automatically be filled as a server. Then you can put the server name. This is also autofill. Then the form name. So form name, you have to click from here. Let me show you how to add this form. Let me delete this. Click here. Then here I need to search. So I will open the same form which I am on. Or if you want to open some other form, that also can be done. So let me open it. This one. Then the form views, we have not taken a video on views, but this is a form has a number of views to display. So we will take this in future. So as of now, it will be a default administrative view. Then you have certain options. Then when opening the window, when you're opening this form, if you want to copy certain values to that field, then you can specify that here. If let's say you want to copy in number, I want to put some values, let's say 30. When this dialog will open, so I want to copy a value 30 in number 1. Similarly, on close of that particular dialog form, you can provide a condition. As of now, we will not provide this. So these are the two active links which I have written on this form, and they will execute on this click of this button. So let me save this. Okay, but now I need to flush the cache. So let me flush the cache before I show you this. So we need to, whenever we make changes in an active link, we have to always flush the cache so that it gets updated. So let me reload this form. Okay, now you can see I have two fields where I will enter a number and 10, and here I will add 30. Now let me click here on this action. So if I am clicking it, so you will see nothing is happening. I'm not getting any results. The reason for this is because in this active link, what we have set as a condition, if you go here in the first active link, that conditional should be true. So that means the value of this field radio button should be true, then only my active link will execute. So I will go again here, I will set this to true, I'll again click it. So now you see I got two results. One is 1030, the other one is 40. Now the reason that I got two results is the first one is a character field. So what the system has done, it has considered number 1 and number 2 as strings. That's why it has concatenated them, like 10 and 30 now is a string, but the other one it's an integer field. So in this I got a calculated result, which means 10 plus 30 is equal to 40. So this is difference between an integer and a character field. So if you put an addition in a character field, it will concatenate it, but if you put same results in an integer field, it will add it. So this is just an addition of two numbers using active link. Now similarly I will explain you how the open window works. Now if I click on open window, again nothing is happening. This means that the active link which we have written on this button is not executing, or the conditions are not meeting. Now you can see we have in this active link, the condition is that this value should be false. So let's try that. Let me set this to false, click it. Okay, now you can see the window has opened in a dialog mode. Additionally, also what we had done earlier, that we had mentioned that the 30 value should be copied in number 1. So this is where I will show you it has been. So if I go here again on open window, so here on dialog open action, number 1 value should be 30. That means when the window will open, I want a certain value to be copied to this particular field. So this is what is done here. So you can see number value is copied here. So this is just opening, this is an action of opening a particular window. Similarly, in active link we have a lot of other actions which you can test, try. You can add actions in an active link. So there are not only these two actions, we have number of actions. We have surveys, run process, run macro, push field, open window. We have already seen message. So I will explain these in more videos or future videos. Today the topic which I will take is active link guides. So active link guides are nothing but the normal loops we create in any programming language like Java or C. We use while loop, we use for loop. So if we have a similar kind of a requirement here in Remedy, so we satisfy that requirement using active link guides or filter guides. So today we will see the active link guides. Now what is an active link guide? It's basically a container where you will add different active links, and then you can execute them as per your sequence. So just to make you understand active link guides, I have created a very simple example with which I will explain you what exactly is this. So to start with, if you have to create a new active link guide, so you just have to right click here and then say new active link guide. Then first of all you have to define on which form you want this active link guide to execute. So there will be forms in your application, so you have to decide on which form you want to execute this active link guide. Then permission, as with all workflows we have, similarly we have permissions here with active link guides. Then we can define the entry point. So for active link guides, it will be an active link. Now how we can add active links to this guide so that they will be executed in sequence is this part. So here you can just say right click, add active links. So what it will do, okay, so first of all I need to select a form. So I have just created a form, so let's see. Okay, now if I say I have added this form, I will say add active links, I'll get a list of these active links. So I can add them one by one, or I can select them all and then they will be added. So for example, I select this 3 active links, so they will be added here in the active link guide. Then this guide will act as a loop for us. Now coming to our example, so what I have done, this is an active link guide I have already created. So now for this I will explain you using a form. So I have created a form where this is a very simple form, where what I will do, I will put the details of an employee and the salary before tax. Then what I will do, I will perform some calculations like deduction of tax, PF and some other deduction using the active link guides. For this also we are using a table. So I will explain you what exactly this is, what is the relation between a table and an active link guide. So let's go to workflow. Okay, now this is the form. Here I have added a table. So just to add table to any workflow, you just have to right click, you will be get list of tables. So I am using a table with list view. Then to add the fields, you can double click on this table, go here on this column sections, and here you can add these fields. So currently I'm using the same form, so here I am adding this form. So you can add some other form and display the data in the table. Now let me show you what I have done. So this is my button which I have written. On this button what I will do, I will trigger a active link guide, and then inside the active link guide, which is this, inside the active link guide I have 3 active links. So all these active links will execute as per the sequence. So first it will run this active link based on the condition. So the condition here is that if the text field is not equal to null, so if I have given it some value, it will execute. Similarly for other one, if it is not equal to null, then the third one where it will also make save the changes. So these are the 3 active links which will be executed in that guide. Now to call this active link guide, what I have to do, I have to write an active link where on the same form, then I have to use this button to run this active link, which is this button, calculate button. Then to call this guide, this is the option. So in the if condition, if you right click, you will get this option where it says call guide. So then in the call guide, I have selected my guide, the one which I have created here. I have just clicked here, selected it, and it's here. Now there is this another option called table loop. So now what is the use of the table loop? This is that if you want this guide to run on a table loop, or you want to traverse through all the records of a table and perform certain actions, then you can select this. So here I am using it because what I have to do, I have to calculate all the calculations in one go. So what I have done, I have selected my table field here, and here in the table loop I have selected all rows. So what this will do, whenever I will run this active link guide or call this active link guide, it will traverse through all the table records and will execute all the active links which are in that guide on each and every record in the table. So let me show you how basically this will run. Now let's go to the browser. Okay, let me search. So I have added these three records. You can see these three records I have added. Let's say these are the employees, and this is the percentage of tax, PF, and other deductions for them. This is the salary before tax. Similarly for other two records. Now if I refresh it, you can see the actual salary is yet to be calculated. Now I'll show you the magic. So let me just save this. Okay, now we can see I have triggered a workflow, and you can see the actual salary has been calculated for all the three employees based on what their tax percentage was, what their PF percentage and other deductions was. So all the calculations have been done by my three active links which are inside the guide. So what happened basically, just to give you a brief, when I click this calculate button, it triggered this active link. So when this active link was triggered, it called a guide. So this is the guide which was called. Then it went here. So what it's here also it identified that okay, it's a guide written on a table, so I need to traverse through all the records of a table. So what the guide did, it went through to this first record, then it ran all these three active links. So in the active links there is just simple calculation of tax which I have done. For active links I have already created a video, so you can go through that video to see how active links are created. Then the second one and the third one. So all these active links were executed on each and every record, and then this calculation was done and it was finally saved in the record. So this is the basic use of an active link guide, how it can be used in BMC Remedy. So you can make a number of uses for active link guide. So there are some more options for when you call an active link guide, like you can skip the execution, you can break it, you can move to some particular guide. Let's say for example, from this active link I need to skip to the third one. That also can be done. So there are two options basically, which is like adding a new label. So then in the active link you can write a workflow to go to that label, or there is one more action in active links which is called go to. I'll show you. This is like that action, go to. So here you can define the execution order. So let's say let's say I have defined an execution order 10 here. Now if I go here, in my guide, so if this other calculation has an execution order of 10, then the system will directly, when the system will execute that active link and there is a go to action to 10, it will directly come here. So that looping can be you can break that loop, or you can continue from a certain part of the guide. So these are some advanced options which we can see later. So this was it as of now for active link guides.
Today I will explain you use of filters. So now to explain you how filters work, what are their uses. So what I have done, I have taken a form, and on this form I have actually created three fields. These are two date fields and this is an integer field. I'll explain you how we will make use of these three fields and a filter and create a workflow. Now to create a new filter, you have to go here in the navigation section, click here, click a new filter. Now as the name of the form is form A, so first of all I have to select a form on which the filter should run. Just a minute.
Okay, so now I will select this form here. Okay, now I have selected this form here. Now as we have seen in the active links, that there are execution options, run if then we have if action, sorry, if and else sections. So it's same applies here, but here the difference is that in filters, first of all, we don't have permissions. So for filters basically run on a server, so it's irrespective of your permissions. When you are basically executing a code, so the filter will run if its condition is satisfied. So let's see now how we can make use of this filter. So run if condition you can set up as of your own, whatever condition you want to put. So I'll not go in detail in this. So what I will do in the if action, now let's, before going on to the actions, I'll give you a scenario. What I need to do is on this form I have two date fields. This is a start time and this is an end time. So what I will do, I will take out a difference of these two and store this in this field, which is an integer field, in number of seconds. So let me show you how we can use the filter actions. Now first of all, I will add an action, set field. Okay, now I need to calculate a date difference. So from here I will select this field, which is time difference in seconds. Then now to calculate this field, we will go here. We will make use of another functionality available in Remedy, which is called run process. So using these processes, I will explain you how we can take out a difference. Normally we can also do a difference between two dates by subtracting start time from end time, and we'll get the same result. But here the difference is that using the run process is normally when you are working in a production environment, so you need to consider the business hours. So all these processes here, whenever they are doing any calculations, they are basically considering the business hours. So let's say we will say this application bus time difference. So this gives us a difference between gives us a difference between start and end date, considering the business hours, and also the result is result which we get it in integer. So I'll show you how we can get this. So this is, I have added a run process here. Now I need to add the fields, so I will close this, go here in fields. So I will say start time, then I will say end time. So this is very simple. Here I'm using a run process to create a difference between the start time and end time, and I am storing these values here in this field. So you can see this is all stored. So now this has here I'm using making use of two things. One is set field and a run process. Now I'll show you. Let's save this filter. Let me give just a name, form a filter. Okay, now the filter is saved. I will go here. So this is my form here. So what I will do, just a minute, I'll just refresh it. Now another thing is, we saw in active links that whenever we make changes to an active link, we have to refresh the we have to flush the cache, but that doesn't apply to filters. When you are using filters, it works irrespective of this cache thing. So whenever you make a change, it will be automatically reflected in the system. You don't need to flush a cache for that. So I will say new request. So now the condition for this filter, I forgot one more thing. So the execution option which we have here, so these are the execution options we have. So currently I just forgot to put this. So let me say, I will say submit, and I will save this. So this filter will execute on a submit of a record. So we have other options also, like modify, delete, get entry, merge, service. So this service is an advanced option we have, so you can explore it, or I will take it in the further videos. So just for understanding now, I will use a submit command here, sorry, or submit execution option. So I'll go here, So let me put a date, start date, let's say 6 a.m. Similarly, I will put another. So just for understanding, I will use only 1 hour difference, 7 a.m. And now I will save this record. So now I have saved this record. I will go and search for it. So you can see it has automatically calculated a time difference between these two, which is 1 hour. And it has also converted this into the seconds, which is 3600 seconds. Similarly, now let's do one more thing. Let's do here, let me just also say, let's run this on modify also. So I have just made a change in the filter. I'm not flushing any cache. So what I will do now, I will just say instead of 7, I will say 8, then I will save it. You can see the difference, or the changes in the filter have automatically reflected. Now this filter also runs on modify action. So similarly, we have other operations in filter where you can make use of these operations. They are somewhat similar to active link, but you can explore different options. The difference in filter is that it runs on a server. There are no permissions associated with it, and the important thing in filter, the workflow is executed in phases. So there are 3 phases in filter, where in the initial phase it executes certain conditions, in the second phase it executes certain conditions, and in the third phase it executes certain conditions. And this is followed for all the filters. But if you want to override this phasing, so there's a way of doing it. You can add at the end of a filter, you can add a particular sign, so to avoid the filter phasing. I think I do not have it here, but you can search it and see it. So how to avoid override filter phasing. So in that, what will happen, let me go back here. So in that, what will happen, if you do not override filter phase, then there are certain commands which will be executed at phase 1, irrespective of your addition of commands here. If you add, let's say if I add a push field here, I add a push field here before the set field action. But now this push field, let me take it, move action up. Okay, now I have added push field action first. Now when the filter will execute, it will not execute this push field action. It will execute this set field action first, because the set field falls in phase 1 and push field falls in phase 2. So then it will execute set field, and then it will execute push field. So this is a normal operation. But now if you want push field to execute first and then set field, you have to override this filter. So there is, I explained you before, the 3 phases of a filter. So these are the three phases which basically in which the filter executes. If we do not override it, in the first phase you will see these actions will execute if they are ready to the filter, irrespective of the sequence you add actions in the filter. Then the second phase is where these 2 actions will be executed, push field and direct SQL. And the third phase, which will have these 3 actions like notify, run process and DSO. Now if in the phase, if this phase 3 action fails, so it will not hamper the operation. So if there are any updates done on the phase 2, that will be concluded. There will be no rollback, because as the phase 3 filter does not have any impact on the operations of the filter, but the other 2 will have. Now if you want to override them and make the filter to execute as per the sequence, as per your own sequence, then you have to add a back's quote and an exclamatory mark to the end of the filter name. I'll show you how. Let's say for example, I will save this filter as sorry, just a minute, I will delete this section. let's say I will save this filter as, then I have to add this to an exclamatory mark at the end of the filter, and then this filter will override the phases and you can execute all the actions as per your sequence in the filter. Thank you. Hey guys, Sandeep here from LearnTech. In today's video, we will see filter guides. So before going on to the filter guides, let me give you a scenario here. So in this, you can see I have a form here, and on the form there is one table. So in this particular table, the data is coming from a different form, and then I have the record per student. So you can see here the roll number is, let's suppose this is a roll number, and based on the roll number the table is loaded with the subjects of the student. Now the functionality which we have developed here is, so now when I try to modify this record or try to save it here, so we can see what will happen here. So let me show you. Okay, so now I have saved this record. So you can see it has calculated me the total marks. Total marks means this one. So this is a sum of all the marks scored by a student for that particular subject. So it is the sum of all the marks scored by a particular student. So with roll number, this one. Now this is my total marks, which is 305, and similarly I have this like outer marks. That means this is the maximum marks which a student can score, and this is the score he has actually got in the examination. So now what I have done when I am modifying the record, it basically calculated me total marks, and it also calculated me the marks out of it. That means it gave me sum of this column here and also sum of this column in this particular field. Now I want to calculate a percentage, so I will click on this button. So it gave me this percentage of 76%. So this is just a simple functionality. Now I will explain you how we have achieved it using filter guides. So let me show you my developer studio. Okay, what I have done here, there are basically two filters which are sum, total marks. So what it will do, it has a set field action. Let me just expand it. Okay, before going on to this, let me open the student form. Okay, so let's see the code here. So before going on to the code, let me open up the table or the form. So this is my form which we have seen here. So this is my form, and I have this table, and I have added this table, and it basically represents data from a different form. Now let's go to the filters. Now to do the calculation, I have these two filters. First of all, the filter is this total calculation of total marks, which is this one. So what I have done here, I have just written a set field action. There is it is associated with the student table. There is no run if or any execution option because we are executing it a guide, so it does not have any execution option. Then here what I have done in the set field action, this total marks field, which is this one, I am just doing an addition to this field with the marks underscore table field, which is this one. So what it will do, every time it will run, it will do the addition of existing value in total marks plus the value in this particular column. Okay, so similarly for mark out of field, it is doing the same operation for the fields. This one, marks out of table, which is this one, it is doing the same operation, just adding the value. Now we will see how we can run this on each row of table and how it will do the calculation. So now what I have done, I have created a filter guide, which is this one. Sorry, this is the filter guide. So here what I have done, you have to just when you create a new filter guide, you have to just give it a name. I have just created it before, but in case you want to create a new filter guide, you have to just click here, new filter guide. Then you have to add the form on which it should execute. So my form is student underscore table. I will add that. Then in filter and label, you have to just right click and add the filters. As I have already created the filters, yeah, but when you are creating a guide, you have to create the filters first before adding them here. Then in this, you have to just click on add filters. Okay, there is some issue here. Okay, let me go here. Yeah, here also I can do right click, add filters. Then it will give you a list of the filters. You can search your filters and add it here. So if you see, I have already added these two filters, total sum and the sum of marks. Okay, and then save it. That's it. Now, how we can call this guide? So again, it can be called from a filter. So which is this filter? So this filter executes on modify condition. What it will do, it will just, there is an action, you have to right click here, then add action, then this operation you have to use, call guide. Okay, this is the filter guide which we have created, and in this you have to mention the name of the guide. So you can select it from here, click here, and then search for the guide. So our guide name is student underscore guide, which I have already added. Now the most important thing is this part, which is table loop. Now we are running this particular guide on a table rows, so I have to select the table also. So here, if you click here, you will be able to search the tables on that particular form. So my table is student table, which is this table. This is the name of the table, student table. And here in my guide, if I go here again, I have added this. Now there is one more option called table loop. So currently, if you say none, it will not traverse through all the table rows. If you say all rows, that means this particular guide will run on each and every record or each and every row of the table. So this is what I need basically. I need to calculate here sum of all the rows, which is this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I need to create a sum of all the rows. What I will do, in my guide I will say all rows. So when my guide will run, it will basically run these two filters and will sum up the values. Let's suppose this total marks, it will sum up first. It will say 0 plus the first row, which is this one, 80. Then it will store 80 in here in total marks. Again, it will go to this record. It will store 80 plus 65 in this. Again, the added up sum will be added to 75 and then 85. Similarly, we'll do the same operation to marks out of, and then we will get this number. And then you will get this result here in this particular these two fields. So this basically helps us to create a loop on the table, and we can traverse through all the rows of the table and do the operation. So you can have a number of different operations where you want to basically create a loop, you want to traverse through the rows of the data, or any other thing where you want to create an loop to execute that particular functionality. So you can use a filter guide. So please note that filters are basically server objects. They run on server side. So in case of any validation or any client side validation, we do not need filters. We do it through active links, through active link guides or active links. But if the operation is on server based, especially if this is done through an integration, or if there are no human interventions, then we normally use filters, because in that case active links will not work. So this guide, let me go to the right. So this guide will, when it will be called, it will be execute on each row of the table and give you the exact result. This calculation which I have done, this is just an active link I have used to calculate the percentage. This is just for example. I have written an active link on this button, which will do which will divide this divided by this into 100 and will give you the percentage here in the field. So this is how actually this is the basic understanding of filter guides. There are different ways it can be used, and there are different operations in filter guide also, and we will have a detailed overview of those operations also. But this was just a basic understanding of how the filter guides work and how they basically help you in creating a loop in BMC Remedy. Thank you. Hello guys, today I will explain you about the about escalations in BMC Remedy. So we'll understand what escalations are, how they are used. So just a basic understanding, escalations are basically used to schedule particular activities on BMC Remedy. So if you want to run an workflow on a particular time or during intervals, then you can use escalations. So now to make you understand, or to help you understand what are escalations, what we will do, we will just create one escalation. Okay, we already have this form called form A, so we have to define a form on which this escalation should execute. So I have a form A on which I have written some workflow. I'll explain you how I can make use of this escalation to run that workflow. Now this is form A. I have these two fields, start time and end time, and there's a field, an integer field called time difference. What I will do, or what I have done, I have written a filter on this form which will run on a modify action. So please go through our video for filters, so then you will understand this also. So here I have provided a qualification in the filter that it will run on a modify on this form A, where the status should be in progress. So then only what it will do, it will use a run process, it will calculate a time difference between the two dates and will store this in this particular field. So this is a filter which we have written on this form, and it executes on a modify operation. Now we will see how we can trigger this workflow using an escalation. Now when you are adding an escalation, we have already added a form here. So now here you will define how the escalation will be executed. So there are basically two options, time and interval. In time means you can define a particular time on which the escalation should execute, or you can define an interval, let's say days, hours, minutes, on which the escalation will automatically execute. So what we will do, we will use time as of now. So what we will do, we will first of all provide a qualification. Let's first of all provide a runf qualification. So we will say the status, the qualifications are same as we have in the active links and filters. We will say the status equals to 0. So you'll see the magic here. Now it has already taken a value for this particular drop down. I provided a number, it automatically took this value. Now when the status of a particular record is new, the escalation will execute on that record. What we will do here, we will use, in actions there are these number of actions available in escalation. So these are the same which we have in filters. So we will use the set field action. What we will do, we will use this status field, and here we will set a value for this. So we will say in progress. Now when this escalation will so when this escalation will run, what it will do, it will set the status of this field to in progress, and it will run for every record where the status is new. Now we just forgot to provide the time. Now we have to provide a time for this. So I will provide the time. Let's say we will use this time for our execution. So we will say second day of month, today is Tuesday, the time is 11, let's say we will say 23. Okay, and we will save this. escalation form A. Just I am giving a random name. Okay, now I have saved this. So here in the filter, you can see in the filter it is the status is in progress, then only this filter will execute. Now I will go to the record. So let me clear this. Let me set this to new. So I already have a record created in this, and you can see I have given start time and end time. The difference is around 3 hours. I think we missed the time. Okay, just a minute. So I will go again on escalation. I will say 24. Okay, now let's wait for. Okay, you can see this record is automatically created. The difference between this is automatically created using a filter triggered by escalation, and also it has set the status to progress. Now when the escalation will again run, it will not take this record into consideration because the status is set to progressed. So this is the way you can build an escalation which will automatically trigger your workflow. So in this we just did a set field action on this form A. We set the status of this field to in progress. Then what happened on this form, a modify action was triggered, and we already have a filter written on modify action, so it checked the status. So status was set to in progress by the escalation, then the filter checked it. Okay, yes, the status is in progress, then these two conditions were executed. Now I will show you. If I go here, let me clean this again, set this to new. So let me make changes here. Instead of 9 AM I'll set 10 AM and I will save this record. So we will see what will happen. You can see nothing was calculated because the filter condition is that the record should be in progress, then only this will execute. So let me set this to in progress, save it. You can see the time difference was calculated. Now I will go back to the escalation. So rest of the conditions are all same. You can also run this escalation manually if you want to, just for testing purpose. You can right click on, you can go to these escalations, right click, and then you can run now. So it will trigger the escalation. Otherwise the option of setting it is here, where you can run it, sorry, on escalations you can define the timelines here, whether you want to run it on time or interval. Thank you.
What we will see now is how we can design an application. Now let's say we'll take the same example as we are using currently. Let me close all this. So we will use the same. Let me disable this filter. We're no longer using it. Okay, this is my trouble ticketing. We'll design the front end, and then we will also design the trouble taking form and then tasks. Okay. Now let's start with that. Now, whenever you are building an application, the first interface you develop is this, the front end. Okay. Now let me go. You know what we have done already? I have added a panel here. This is a panel. Okay. If you right click here, then create a new in the current view, then you will get this panel. Okay. There are multiple panels also. We'll see that because this is more of a designing components. So let us check that. Just let me expand this so you can just drag it here. Okay, so let me just drag here on this also. Sorry, let me go in this database. Okay. Now I have here this front end. Yesterday we created some links. We created this new customer, new display view for customer to check the different views of the for that form. Now will create a proper front end. So what I will do here in the front, I'll just add one. So this is my table which will store the trouble ticketing data. Here I will add a panel. This panel I will restrict it here. Okay. Now we can see this has gone to the back end of this one. So what you can do, you can just right click on this. Sorry, not here. Okay. Back. Either this one or this one. When you're selecting, you can see here there isn't this option. Bring it to front or send it to back. So I'll say bring it to front. Then it will be on top of this. Because if you add this in here, it's like this. It will whenever you are displaying it, it will not display it. Okay. So let me open this. Okay, now I have to just give this a naming here. Let me align this with this one. Okay, so if you have to align it with a top align, that is here. You can click on this. So you can see here it will bring it to the top alignment. Similarly, if I have to just, let's say I need to remove this face, I need to just align it with this particular component. Then what I can do, I can select this, then select that. Then you can see here this component size value. I think this is one beyond this one. But this okay, wait, there's one the other way around. So let me select this one. First of all, wait, let me go down. Let me bring this here. Then I have already aligned the top. Then I will select this. Then I would say, not like this. Can go back by Control Z. Start giving me the alignment border. Okay. So I'll have aligned it to bottom line. But now if you want to change the properties, you can also do that by going to the properties. This is just dragging, but in case sometimes you will need it, go to the display part. So here, see here in the alignments, you have this left, X, Y, width, height. It is the same thing normally. Width is this one, height is this one. So let's say if I check height of this component. So height is 450. So what I will do, go here. This I think is shorter. So here I think height is 381. I will make it 415. I have already aligned bottom. So what it will do, it will bring it to the in alignment with this one. Then the only thing I have to do is I have to just select this one, then I have to top align it. Okay, little slope. Now we can see here both of them are of the same height. So you can say similarly define this X and Y components of any of the designing panel, when you are designing a panel, navigation list, anything, you have this alignment here, width, height, you have then alignment, whether it is you want to keep it left, local. Then X means the horizontal space from this particular component. What is the X? Then if I instead of 170, I'll make it 169. You can see here it is dragging towards the left. Okay, if I make it 165, it is going here. Okay. Similarly, this Y component is this height. Okay, if I make this 111, it will go up. So it will go, it is basically the distance from your y component. Okay, now let's go here. This is basically the x and y components of your panel. Let me again see if I can define it. It's not going like this. I think it is taking it from here. Okay, let's keep this as the main component. Let's keep it something like this. Okay, and then let's define this application like this. Now what I will do, I just wanted to put a label here. So you can directly take this Control C, Control V. Okay, then you can bring it. It is very simple. Now we can see I just wanted to left align it. Left alignment. Then I will just select this. I'll change it. I'll change the name. I'll change the display. So instead of header one, I will make this as something else. Like it is required button. So you can see it has changed. Then I would say text is ticket data. I will say trouble tickets. Okay. Then what I'll do, because this is label is justified centrally, I'll change this label. I'll make it to left so that it is more. Again, I will just reduce this space. Okay. Okay, now let me. Okay, sorry, I just wanted. Let me do one thing. Now this is my main component. This is one way of like adding a label here. Now what I can do is instead of doing this, let me use one more component here. This tab and okay, I will use this as a sub component inside this. Then it will help me in designing the other components. Okay, so let me go here. Let me just drag it here for some time. Okay, now let me drag this table. Sorry, not this one. I'll move to first part. Okay. Leave that thing, we will not use that. So here what I will say, I will double click on this. When you double click, it opens up the property. This I have already explained you. So I'll click on display. I will say trouble tickets. Okay, so this is my panel or my table which will hold all my trouble tickets. Okay, let me something else. Then this is my second panel where I want to store all my tasks. Okay, so then what I would say tasks, task table. Okay, similarly then there can be something else you want to store in a ticket. So this will store all my travel tickets. This will all store my tasks, and from here itself I can create. Okay, then now in this panel, this is the complete panel. This is a tab panel. If I want to add a new a new panel, so I need to go to the properties. So here, if you go here in the panels, you can see here there are already two panels are already added. So what I will do, I will create a new panel called work log. Okay. So as of now, we'll keep it like this only. Okay. So this, it will store all my tickets. Let's say these are all tickets assigned to me. Then here I will add a button. So this I will say create. I will give it a name as new. Okay, so this new will create a new, like if I need to create a new ticket, I would use this button. Then if I want to display my existing record, then what I can say, give it a name here. Display where exactly is this? What is name? UTT. Okay. What you can also do, you can also create some fields here in the bottom, and when the record is being selected, you can display it. That also I will show you. Okay, but let's first of all take this basic thing. Then this task table, it will, here what I will do, I will add a new table, and it will display all my related tasks. Okay, so here I would use, click on this form name, I would say OS3. So you can see here this join form is also available. If you want to display data from your join table, that also is available. So let me add some fields from this. Let some basic fields, then let's request. Okay. Work log is, now you all know that whenever you're creating tickets, when you're using any application, there's a log being generated. Okay. So that's a basic log we maintain for a ticket. So we also create a table on which we are adding it. So that we will add. So for that, okay, let's not do it as of now. We'll do it later. So this, I need to add a form. So let me save this. First of all, we'll do the other things. Okay, now I have just created some basic design for my front end application where I have some links through which I can open, go to new customer. I can create this new display. Then I can display my tickets. I can create a new ticket. So while creating this new ticket, it will open up this form, not this one, this is join. So it will open up this trouble ticketing form where it is. Okay. Okay, this is the default view of the trouble ticketing. So now let's design this part. Okay. Let me go. First of all, okay, what I'll do, I'll also use some core fields for this one. So here I would create new panel. You can also use this collapsible panel, then splitter panel and accordion panel. Let me add one of the, show you this one. You can also add this. This is like something like this. It will have fields here, then it will have the other. Suppose let me use this. Okay, let me first of all drag these fields here. So this is my ticket ID. Not only this, I have to add this component here. Okay, let me just, you can select all of these fields and then you can drag them. Okay, so let me give it a name. I would say the first one, I will click this display. This is panel first. I would say trouble ticket details. And this one here, I would keep all my system fields. Okay, system information. Okay, so then I will add this summary. Now I can drag this also to bring it down so that I'll get more space. So this is just a it takes time to create these things. So I have done. No, for me development is like it's a hobby. I love to develop. I have built an application also, automation application, not in Remedy, in Java, but that is just for my own. Okay, so now I have these fields. I have arranged them, so you can see here. Now what I will do, I will add my system fields. For example, this create date. Wait, so this one is here. Okay, you need to understand this. We have to add this on the panel. You cannot add it on the outer component. So I haven't dragged it. So that is why it was not allowing me to add fields. So this is my create date. This is my submitter, short description, and modified data. Okay. So what I will do, I'll just arrange them. Have some. Look, there is one more way of doing it. I'll show you. If you select all of them, let me. Sorry, I cannot select. Select all three. What you can do, just select them. Go here in properties. Then it will display this X and Y values that you can change it. For example, this is 36, 33. See, both of them have been dragged to left. So you can do also something like this. Let me rearrange it. Okay. Now create data, I will just arrange it like this. Similarly, I will say modify date, create date. I will align the top. So what it will do, it will bring it in the same line. Then if you align this one and this one as top, it will bring it to this second line. Then I can arrange this one and this one and align them like this. This size label and size value will delete the label and value spaces and will align. These components will are for alignment, but this is what where it will delete the extra part. Okay. So status also I'll add somewhere here. Okay, so let's say now this is done. Okay, we save this. Now also what I want to do, I want to just click a date field. I would say, where is the date field? Date and time field. Okay, I will align this with this field. Start alignment. And then here I would say this is as a request date. Request. Okay, now this you will see in every application, any ticketing application. There is a system date, there is a request date. For example, I have requested something 1 day ago, so then I should have a place where I can track that request. Then we just keep this request date or issue date as a flexible option for end users. Okay, now I have defined this. So this is my trouble ticket summary. Then this is my system information for this ticket. Now what I will do, okay, now we have, let me go back to this. Now we will see how it will look like, okay, from the front end. Then we will also see some other options. So let me click this. Not here. Okay, let me create one active link. This is the name of this one. It is, I would name it as u_btn. Okay, and this one I would name as u_btn. That means this is a button. Okay, so I'll create now two active links. One on new button to create, let's say, to open a new trouble ticketing form. So I would say OS3 main console. So here, if you see, let's not take the permission. You're not. Okay, now it's add action. Open window. Open window. Then I would open it in. First, we will say submit mode. Then I would select trouble ticketing, OS3. So this is trouble ticketing. This we saw yesterday also, right? While designing this. So here you have to define the form. Sorry, my mouse is not. Okay. So now if you see set this option, it will set the default value from some fields. Okay. So let me save this. Again, the naming convention, OS3 OP main console form name. Then you will basically application, then form name, then what you are doing in active. Open trouble ticket submit mode. Okay, this is one active link. Now I have, okay, well, let me see if I have defined it on button. Otherwise, it will not work. So execute option, I will say go to this button. Then I would say no, not TTVN. The naming I am still. This is my main console. Okay, so I haven't saved this. That's why it's not showing me the new naming. Now it will show the new one. Okay, I will save this. What I will do, I will save as this active link. Open trouble ticket. Here I would say this label. Okay. And this I would change it to view button. Again, open window. Where exactly is it's here? So I can use two options. Either I can use dialog window or I can use a this display window. Okay, display type is say split window, new. They have added these two options and said, okay, then let me use this one because we'll not understand with that. Okay, on dialog action open, what I will do, I will map fields values. Okay, let me first of all go here. This is my main console from this table. I want to send this values. Okay, so what I have here, request ID, request date. Okay, before that, let me save this and then on trouble ticketing, I'll just make some changes because yesterday we just didn't give the exact naming to them fields. For example, this summary is not, even if you change the display name, sometimes the database name will not change. It will remain same as well. Say summary. If that here I would say details. Details. Okay. Then see, we'll make it more realistic. Priority. No, only one value. We'll say low. Then you can add here as medium. We'll add only these two values. Okay. As of now. This is priority. Okay, save this. I'll go back to my main console, which is my application console, which displays my data. Go back here. I'll remove all of them, okay? Then I will add them again one by one. Request ID, summary, details, priority. Okay, I will add as of now only these fields. So again in the column I have to change this. So it was request ID underscore table. This one you can double click on this table ID, it will directly take you here. Then it is summary underscore table. Then I would say this is details underscore table. Priority underscore table. Okay. Now I will open this in dialog flow. So here, this is here. Priority. You want to add the value. This. And then it's showing me the age, still showing me the. Let me not save this. I already created one active link, we'll create it from here itself. It's not displaying me the new values. Could I just change it? Okay, main console execute option I need to do, so I will select button, say new button, then in actions add an action which is open window. Okay, I'll open a dialog, then trouble, sorry, let's see. And on dialog open, I have just say request ID value not showing. Save this. OS3 main console, then display T. Okay, let's first of all see this form. Okay, and then okay. This evidence come. This table. Then we have details. It is details table. Then we have summary. I would say a summary table. Okay. Now what we will do, we'll go here. I have to flush the cache. So, we need to flush the cache to see the changes. Okay, I have flushed the cache. Let me go and open the main console form. Okay, now this is my data here. So if I select anything, then click on view. Look, it is displaying my data here, right? So see here, summary value 1, summary details value 2, it has displayed it. Okay, now, but you can see here, yesterday also I showed you this, right? If I again click indicate, it's displaying it something like this, but I can fix this also. That we will see later. We saw that yesterday. You need to just go to the form section here. Sorry guys, my mouse is stupid now. It's not working. So we have, if we go here in trouble ticketing, forms, and if I go here, I think it's, no, it's layout. Let's show actual versions. So you can reduce this. Okay, bring it here. Then it will reduce the size of that particular view. You can go here, flush the cache. Okay, refresh it. See here, it has changed it. No, okay, it's not displaying the. It's only displaying the data. Now let me go here. Okay, I don't know. It's maybe there are two electrons stated. Ignore. So let's ignore it. So let me click here on new. Now this is a new mode of my ticket. Now see here when I make changes, it is displaying something else. Okay. So I would say issue in my laptop. Lap working. Okay. Your Tigo customer is Roger and save this. Go and search this record. See here, this all is in capture automatically here. System details. And now, similarly, in my task also, the task has been, it is displaying all my tasks. And in work log, I can add my work logs. I can do these operations. Now, as we know, in BMC Remedy, we already have seen it in some other examples where we created some menus. Like for customer details, we created a menu. So similarly, menus are used in displaying data in a list format where you want to select data from a different form. You can use menus. Okay. So if you go here in the menus section, if I right click on it, you can see these are the options I have. We will see them one by one. We have character menu, we have file menu, we have search menu, SQL, then field data dictionary, com data, and licensing data dictionary. Now, the most frequent which we use in BMC Remedy is this search menu because it allows us to directly search on a form. The remaining menus are also there. They are used when this menu does not give us the the list which we want to display. Now, if I click on this character menu, the first menu, so character menu, it's a static menu. Okay, once you define it, it cannot be changed. So what you do, you define some static values. For example, from here you can add your menu. So then you define your values. For example, this is value 1. Right. So this is a static menu which once defined, it cannot be changed. Okay. So you use this case of use these menus anywhere where you know that this menu will not change. Now there are two options. Once you added this menu, you can add sub menus. You can define subcategories, or you can add menus itself. For example, this one will again add a different menu. For example, if I have to define a category here, I would say, let me take it in a real life example. It's a soft. Okay. It's a software. Okay. So then this is hardware. We'll take only two examples. Okay. Copy hardware. Okay. Then under this, I can define sub items. For example, I have MS Office, MS Office. So again, you need to select this and menu items. I have Adobe or any other. It's basically as per your requirement. How you work out a requirement should be fine. Similarly, I have hardware, so I would add main item like I have server. Okay. So this is so it has two parts now, label and value. Either they can be same or you can also differentiate them. Initially, you can take a this is used internally, this is used on the front. So you can define your menu and label values. So what you will present to customer can be different from what you are storing internally. And it can also be same. So I'll add just a menu item to this. And then here I would say, let's say it's a rack. Okay, now I can directly save them. So here I would say, or let me just give it a name. Menu underscore. Yeah. So this is a character menu. Okay, so I have defined a character menu here. Then here you can set your default values. If you want to make changes, you can directly do it here. I think this does not have a default value. So this menu is again, it's a static menu. You cannot make changes once it is done. Now I have created one character menu. So similarly, let me go back. We will create all the menus and we'll see how it looks like on the form. Okay. Then I have file menu. Now for this file menu, it comes something from external system. For example, if you have a text-based file, then that can be represented as a menu. For example, I'll use the same example. For example, it's software. Then I would say here it is MS Office. I'll just create this file. Similarly, I would say hardware / it has again key value pair. Okay, so I'll use only these two. So now let me save this. Okay, let me put it on desktop. I'll say this is file underscore menu. And again, it has to be a text file. You cannot use any other file like Word or any other format. It has to be a text file. Now let me go here. This refresh operation I have already explained you. On connect, again I will explain you. On connect means when the system is connected. On open means when you are opening the menu. For example, when you are clicking on the menu to list out the items, that is on open. On connect means when you are loading the form. Okay, so always it is, if your menu is dynamic, it keeps on changing, use on open. If it is static, not changing frequently, then use on connect. On 15 minutes interval means it will refresh it on 15 minutes interval. 15 minutes your menu will be updated. So let me use on open for this one. And for this menu, it is like where you want to locate it. It is at server or it is at client. That also you can define. I would say client. Then let me use this. Here I would call this as menu file. So these are just, I'm showcasing you, but we don't use them quite often. Neither character menu or the file menu. But what is most frequently used is this search menu. So this search menu, it can be associated with the form of the remedy system. For example, if I want to display, we'll create again the customer. We have a customer table, so we'll use the same one. So I can associate with this with a form. Then I will define the label fields. So in this case, I just wanted this customer name. Then you can sort this. If you want to sort it on label, it will define the sorting. Then you have to select the value field. The value field also is these can be different. The label field can be something else and value field can be something else, but we'll need the same value. This is used in case of, let's say, I'll give you an example. For example, when you are displaying all the assignees of a user, but internally you want to capture the user ID of the user. Sorry, on menu you want to define full name of an assignee, but internally you want to capture his ID. Then in that case, that particular label will be as customer name here. But here, if I want to get the ID of the customer, let me see if I have that field. Okay, let's see that. Let me select this request ID. Let's say this is a customer ID. Let's see what happens. Then you can define a qualification based on which you want to define this main. So it is up to you how you want to define qualification. Customer name is not equal to null. Again, there can be a dynamic qualification defined here. You can also define this menu based on a qualification on the form you're using it. Okay, so you can check some values on the field. For example, I'm using this on this form, display only form, and here there is one field based on which I want to define that menu. I want to match menu value. I want to match fields from this form with a field value from this form. That also can be done. In that case, in the menu, what you do, you add it as a dollar field. So here you will, it is like more of an advanced, let's first of all understand this basic part, but it is more of an advanced thing where you can also define it on the fields on that current form. That also can be done. I will say menu underscore search. So we have defined character, we defined file, we have defined search. Now let me go here again. So we have this SQL menu. SQL menu is like you can directly define an SQL query here. You can write, this is just a simple, you can say select, for example, we will use the same table. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me get this schema ID. Okay, let me connect to database table. So this is my Remedy database here, ER system. So you can use any tables here. Just expanding it. So what I will do, I will say, let me use this. Okay. Does not have any data. So okay, this one has data. Let me use this one. So let's use this C6. So then in that case, this selects C6 from, sorry, I would say select C6 from, which is this table, T1505. dbo.t1505. So that's dbu1505. Okay, now if my query is correct, it will bring, always make sure that whenever you are writing an SQL query for an SQL menu, it should return only one field as a, it should display it. Because if you want to, if you write, suppose, let's say a multiple query, select star from this, then you cannot display it here in this mail. So let me say menu underscore SQL. Okay. So now we have defined SQL. Now let me say new field data dictionary. Now what exactly is this? I'll explain. Now this menu will basically give you all the field information about a form. So let's say I will select my form. I will say this trouble ticket. Okay. Now whatever you want to display as a menu, whatever you want to display in menu from this particular form, these are the options. You can define all data fields, table, attachment, or any other, whatever you columns, attachment pool, control, it can be displayed here in this. So then you can define the label format here. You want to define it based on name, label, ID. I would say label. Label means the display only name. Then the value format also, you want to define it based on the value format. You want to define it based on the name, based on the, these are the options you have. Okay. So then I will save. So this is my menu underscore data dictionary, data D. Okay. Then I'll go back here. Then in menus, I have this option called form data dictionary. Now I have seen that data dictionary menu, it displayed me about information about all the fields on a particular form. But here in this menu, what you can display, you can display all the list of the forms. For example, here, what type of forms you want to display in this menu. So based on that, you can define it. Suppose I would say regular. So it will only display me the list of regular forms. So if you click this show hidden forms, it will also display the hidden forms, means the forms which do not have public permissions or which have public hidden permissions. So that also you can display here. Then I would say value is name. Let me save this. Say menu underscore forms. Then I have last menu, which is this license data dictionary. What it will display you? It will display you the type of the licenses you have. Let me select all of them. Okay. Then I will say main format. Then let me save it. So I would say menu underscore license. Now, what we have seen character menu. It's a static menu. You can define your values here and then it will display. Then we have seen field file menu. You can use a text file to define the data. It will be displayed on that, in your form. This is again a static menu depending on what is there in the file. Okay, this is also a static menu, character menu. Search menu we have already seen. It can be defined on any form of BMC Remedy. This is a dynamic menu. If there are changes in the form values, it will also update. It will also show you the updated values. Then SQL menu is where you can directly create an SQL query from any database and present it as a menu. If you have ideally we do it on BMC Remedy database, but you have an access to the database, you can do it from here and then you can display it as a menu. Then data dictionary is for a particular form. When you create a data dictionary form, it will give you an option to select fields from that. We will see this in how it will look like. Similarly, if you want to display a list of forms, that also can be defined as a menu. Then we have finally the licensing. So you can display the licensing, how many licenses you have. This also as a menu. Now let me go back here. Now let me create these number of fields and I'll associate the menus with it. Then we will see them one by one. For example, this is character menu. Okay. This is file menu. Okay, what I'll do here also, I'll associate let me associate the menus as well. So what you need to do, whether you can associate a menu with a character field. To create a character field, then you go to here in the menu name option in the properties. You can get this by either by double clicking or selecting this and going here, clicking here. Then you will also get the properties. So now here I need to search for my character menu. So this is my character menu. So I will associate this with it. What I will also do, I'll remove the expand box. I will hide this. Okay. Then similarly with this is file menu. I'll associate a menu which is based on file, which I have just created. So menu underscore form data SQL. I'm not able to see it. Let me search it based on this one. Yeah, it is. Okay. Then what I will do, I'll just copy this. I will just copy it here. Copy it here. Yes. Now I will, this is character, this is file. Afterwards we have search. So let me change the name to search menu. And here I will associate menu underscore search. Okay, then similarly we have, this is character menu search, then we have SQL. I will associate an SQL menu with it. We'll give it a display name as SQL menu. Then I have data dictionary menu. So I will change it. I will say menu. I have this data dictionary. This is for a particular form. I will say data dictionary menu. Then I will again change it. Then I have forms menu. So I would say forms. Menu forms. So I have one more now. I'll just copy this, paste it here. Then I just have to change this to menu, which is this one, form. No, sorry, not forms. This one is a licensing. Forms I have already added. So I would say this license. Licenses. Okay. Now let me rearrange this so that it's connected. Similarly, adding this. So let me save this form. Menu form. Okay. Now let's go back to the system. Let's see how the menus will look like in system. So first is character menu. You can see here what we have defined in the system. So it has showcased you, the based on the characters we have defined in the menu, it is displaying this menu. This is the first menu which we can see. Then second is a file menu. So what we did, we put these items under a file, and then it is displaying this as a menu here as a file menu. So these are both static menus we have, both character and file menu. So it can then take data from this. The third menu which we have is, you can see here, search menu. So this is, again, we have defined a search on a form, and based on that we are displaying this menu here in the system. So this is something you can define from some other form. So we know that we provided a search menu on that form, and the menu itself we defined this form on which we have to search. This other menu is called it's SQL menu. You can see here. Here we have given directly an SQL query in the system, and then based on that, this menu is displaying the data. So this menu basically is connecting directly to the database and displaying the data. Then we have this field data menu. So we know that we have defined a form on the menu, and then it is displaying all the fields from that particular form. So this is the basic role of field data menu, in which it will display you the data. Then you can see here we have this form based menu. So what it is doing, it is displaying all the forms which are present in the system. So these are basically data dictionaries which we have in the remedy system for menus. So this was it from the menus. Thank you. Now let Today's topic which I am going to explain you is about run process. So in today's discussion, we will see what is a run process. We will also see an example how a run process can be used, and also we will discuss event. So normally there's an execute option on ActiveLink called event. So we will see all together in a simple example. But before we go on to this, I will explain you what is a run process. So people who are using BMC Remedy, so they might be aware about this, that in BMC Remedy there are certain set of commands which you can use during the workflow process. So it's a part of an action where you can add it here. So if I go here in actions, I can add this run process, and it is available both in filter as well as in ActiveLink. But there are certain run processes or commands which execute either on filter or on ActiveLink or on both. So let me just open this run process. So if you take this run process command, so it will give you this command line to process this particular request. So you can add your run process here, or you can put your command here. Now if you click here, so again, if I go here in the processes, so you will see there are multiple processes here for run process. So these are the different type of run processes which BMC provides us. So you can use them in different workflows and different operations. You can use them, especially this first set of application business time. This is mostly used to calculate the business time. This is mostly a requirement from a customer, that they wanted to only calculate the business time segment. They want to exclude holidays, they want to exclude any weekends. So then these are the set of commands which helps us in executing it. I will not go in detail in that, but it is just, you can explore it. Maybe sometimes I'll take this example, how it calculates the using the run process, I will calculate the business time. Then we have multiple another commands. So if you click here on this command, it will give you a description here. So you will come to know that what is the format of the command, how to use this command, what are the parameters which this command takes, and what output this command will give us. So you can also use it
in your own scenarios. If in case you are building a workflow, you are building a logic, so you can use these commands to see if they can fit in your logic, or they can give you much better functionality than the workflows like active links, filters. So there are also commands which are basically on table, which are these. So you can perform different set of commands on table. Like you can refresh a table, you can report on a table, you can select a node on a table. So these are different commands which are available for the run process. Then there is one more thing. There are two ways you can execute a run process. So first is doing this run run using the run process action. The other is that if you use it in a set field, then you can do it that way as well. So in that case, how you can use it, for example, I have added this set field. Then what I can do in the field, I can, let's suppose, select any field, and here in the value, what I can do, if I want to execute a run process now, then I can use it like this. So it will come like this. Okay, this is just an example I'm taking. So there will be a dollar process dollar, then the command. So you can use it. And why we use this set field? In this scenario, there are certain commands where you want to get the result. You want to retrieve the result, and you want to store it in a particular field. Then in that case, we use this set field. So we will, once this process is executed, it will store the data in this particular field. So these are the two ways by which you can use your run process. You can explore it more by performing these different type of run processes. There is a BMC documentation on these run processes. If you go here, just a minute. Yeah, so this is a documentation. You can go, and they have explained every run process, that what it does, what are the parameters it takes, how it works. So it will give you all the information about run processes, and then you can explore it, you can use it in your own conditions. But today, what I will explain you today, I will take an example where I will use a run process, I will use active links, and I will use event. And I will explain you a very simple functionality which I have built using these three operations. So let's go started with that. Okay, you can explore this list anytime. It will give you an idea of basically how many run processes are there, and also they have segregated it here. They segregated it here, what works on active links, what works on filters. They have explained it here. Okay, what works on active links, what works on filters, what works on what is the command. So it is segregated here. Okay, let's go back to the example now. Okay, now the scenario is, let me first of all explain you the scenario. Okay, so this is my first of all, we will see the functionality, what is the functionality, and then we will see how we have built this functionality using an active link, using a process, and using an event. So my functionality is, this is a form. Okay, this is a student form where I have some details about a student, like his roll number, name, class. Now what I need to do, I need to get his fee details. So I have a separate form, which is this one, student underscore payment. So it has all the payment details for a student. It stores all the payment details for a student, and this form stores the other information for a student. So what I need to do, I need to get the payment details on this in total payment field. I need to update it, or I need to retrieve the actual value. Currently it is showing something, but maybe there is something else in the actual form or actual payment page. So I want to retrieve those details, and I want to save them here. So this is my functionality, and how I will build it, I will explain you that. So this is how we can build it. Now to what I will do, I have created this button, get fee details. This is a button. So on this click of a button, what I will do, I will open a dialog window, and a dialog window will open. In the dialog window, I will do the calculation of the fee, and when I close the window, the data will come back here in the total fee field. So how it is done using the workflow, I will explain you. Okay, so let me go back to the table form. Okay, so these are the two things I have added, two fields. It's a read-only field I have added, and this is the button which I have added. Now on this button, I have written an active link with open action. So this is that active link. So it's a simple open window action link. What it will do, it will open this student payment form in in dialog mode. It will open this student payment form in a dialog mode. Then what I am doing, I am passing on the roll number to this particular window. So when the when the student underscore payment form will open, I will pass roll number, which is from this form, this one. I will pass on to the dialog form which is opening. So here, this is the field which is from the dialog form. I have already shown you here in the payment. Here also there is a roll number field. Okay, so I am passing on this value to this field, and as a when the window will open, this field will go to the dialog form. Okay, simple. Then on the dialog form, what I have done, I have written an event. Okay, just a minute. Let me delete this additional things. This was just for explanation. Let me delete this. Okay. Okay. When the form will open, the dialog form will open. Then there is an active link which will execute, which is this one, which is set details on load. So what I have done, there is an active link written on Windows open. So when this is student payment form. So when it opens, after I click the button, the form will open. This active link will execute. What it will do, it will fetch the details of this particular student based on the roll number. So because I am passing on the roll number to the student, so it will fetch the details of the student based on the roll number. So it will say roll number is equal to roll number. It will get all the details on that particular dialog form. Okay, and then in case it does not match it, it will give us a null values. So the roll number, I'm already passing on roll number to the dialog form, and then I'm writing an active link which will fetch the details of the form, sorry, the particular student on the dialog form. Okay, so please remember, when we are opening the dialog window, it will by default, it will not take any details of because it will not come to know that which student details you have to fetch. So I have to fetch it based on the roll number. So once this is done, then on the payment form, this is my payment form, I will do some calculation. I will put like total fee paid, discount. I do some calculation and I close this. Okay, now on closure of this form, I have written an run process, okay, which is this one. So this active link executes on Windows closed. So once the window is closed, what it will do, it will perform a send event run process. So this is here defined in the process commands. If you go down here, it is defined here in okay, just a minute, I have to, it is a table. Okay, yeah, just wanted to show you very clearly. So look here, this command is completely explained that you can perform this run event, send event. What it does, so it will send an event from a child form to a parent form. So currently my form, this form, student underscore table, it's a parent form, and the form which will open as a dialog form, which is a student underscore payment, that form will be as a child form. So what it does, it sends this particular command, sends an event from a child form to the parent form. So then they have given some tags. If you say at the rate, it signifies that it will signify the parent from the current window. So if there is any current window where you are executing this event, it will send the event to the parent form. Then there are other options also, But let me go back to my example. Okay, now what I have done, I have sent an event. At the rate means it will send an event to the parent. Then this is a condition event type. You can mention any string or any parameter, so that in the on the parent form you can capture this event based on this event type. So this is my event type, child closed. I can keep it anything. So because if I have multiple active links which are executing on event on the parent form, then this will be very important for me, because I do not want every active link to execute. I want only a particular active link to execute. That is why I have given this as a child event here, child closed as an event type, and then I'm passing on this total fee value as a event data. So this will go to the parent form. Now parent form is student underscore table. On that form, what I have done, I have written an active link. It's a very simple active link. It will execute on event condition. So maybe some of you have used it, and or some of maybe wondering what is this particular thing. This is how it executes. So this is an event. So any event sent on this particular form, this active link will execute. And what I am doing, I am capturing the event data. So here I am setting total fee, which is my this field. I am setting it with event data. So whatever event data I have captured, I will set it on my total fee form. Just for the information, I have given it a message here, so that we will see event data and event type. Okay, so this is how it will work. It executes. This is the complete logic which we have built. Now we will see the functionality. Okay, so let me go back here. Let me say get fee details. Okay, now you can see the roll number I have passed on from my parent form, which is this one. The details it captured using the second active link, which is Windows Open active link, which and it captures it captured these details from the student payment form. So now I can do these calculations. Suppose I have to give a discount of, given this is 1000, I will say now my total fee has been finally calculated as 7000. Okay, so this is I have paid, total fee is 7000. I have given 1000 discount to this student. Now what I will do, simply I will close this dialog form. So the moment you the moment you close this dialog form, it sends an event to the parent form, which is the student underscore table. And here you can see in the message, it has captured 7000 and child closed. So if you see here in the message, it is event data and it is event type. So here also you can see this is event data and this is event type. And if I now click on OK, you can see this has changed. So it has set the total fee equal to 7000. So this is an way of there are different ways also in doing this operation, but this was just to explain you how you can use a run process, how you can use an event, how you can use an active link to perform or to build a functionality on remedy system. So this is quite very useful in mostly in cases where you want to create a pop-up, you want to add a pop-up, and then from the pop-up you want to capture the data, set it on the parent form, and then make changes. So you can use it. You can use this event or this run process to create such scenarios. This is a very quite commonly used in all the developments we do, because there are a lot of scenarios, functionalities where you have to open a pop-up, you have to send a data to the pop-up, bring the data back to the pop from that particular pop-up to this form after the calculation. So you can do this using this particular functionality, using a run process, using an event, and using the active link. You can build this functionality. I hope you have understood this. In case there are any concerns, you can let me know. You can explore this run process more. It's a very robust, it can help you in building a lot of logics in BMC Remedy. You can use it in your different functionalities, different workflows which you will be building for customers. So
Hey guys, welcome to my channel LearnTech. This is Sandeep Cole here. Today's topic, which I am taking, is BMC Remedy Groups. So, in today's topic, what we will understand what are BMC Remedy Groups, and we will also understand what are the permissions based on these groups, or how we can use these groups to create different type of permissions, and how we can use those permissions in our workflow. So this is what we will see. So now coming on to BMC remedy groups, there are basically two types of groups. One is the explicit group, and another one is the implicit group. So explicit groups are basically groups where you can create a group, you can manually assign users in the group through the user form, and then those users, or the members of the group, will have permissions to that group. So we will see this in a practical example, how will create a group, will add users, and then how we can give different type of permissions to the users. Now coming on to the explicit groups, you can define this on a particular server, and they are basically bound to that server. So if you create a group on a server, it is bound to that server. So if you move your workflow and objects to a different server, these groups will not move. So basically, in a remedy, you have a different concept called roles, which are deployable with a particular application, but not the groups. So groups are bound to a particular server. So we will not go into the roles, that I will take separately. But currently, in today's topic, we will see the groups. So the groups, explicit groups, we have here. There are basically two categories. One is the regular groups, and another is computed groups. So regular groups are basically normally a group where you create a entity, and then you add people to that entity, and then whatever permission that entity has, those all people will get those permissions. Now the Okay, now the computed groups. So computed groups are basically groups where we have different people belonging to different regular groups. So we can put up a qualification which will compute us the people who should belong to a computed group. For example, there is an example here itself, that if I have to define a compute group, so I will have, let's suppose, A, B, C, and D regular groups. Then I can define a qualification that I will create a computed group where I need people only from A and B. So what I will say, I will create a computed group, for example, group AB, and in the qualification, I will mention that people from A and B. So that means when somebody who is part of A will automatically be part of this computed group. Similarly, if I want to exclude some people, I can define a qualification which is given here in the PPT, that I can define a qualification. Sorry, I can define a qualification that if people belong to A and B or C, that means I need a person who belongs to A, and he should also be part of B or C, and not D. That means he should not be part of group D. Then only he will be member of this particular computed group. So we will see it in a live example how it is basically done. This is just a basic explanation of computed group. Now coming on to the implicit groups. So implicit groups are basically where we do not create these groups. So users from different users are given permissions based on the conditions, based on the roles they have. So they automatically get assigned to these groups, and then they get the permission. So one of that concept is the dynamic groups. So we create these dynamic groups. So dynamic group is basically a very good concept in BMC remedy to do the role level security, where you have different people from same company who are creating, let's suppose, records in a same form, but based on these dynamic groups you can segregate the data. So you will have that a tendency to segregate or give permissions to people on the same form itself. So, for example, if there are 10 records created, 5 will be accessible to one user, 5 will be accessible to other user. So, they will not be able to see each other's data. But for dynamic grips, we will take this separately because this is a big topic. So you have to have a a different, you need to have a different set of understanding for this. So for today we will see the groups. Okay, let me go to the groups. Let me directly go to the application, and there we will see it. So here, this is my group form. So this is basically a form where you define all the groups in BMC Remedy. So whether it is defined out of the box or you have to define it, so this is the form basically where we define it. Ideally, if you are using ITSM application, so you have different support groups, you define support groups, but ultimately those support groups are also saved here as a group with an ID number. But in general applications, or in custom applications, we can define the groups here itself directly and use them. So here what I have done, I have defined a regular group. So you can see in the form there are there are already a lot of groups added. These are all out of the box groups. So this one I have defined student underscore admin. So what you need to do, if you need to, I will create a new request. So you have to give group name, group ID, then type of the group, whether it is a view, change, or none. So view means the group people will have only view access, and change means they can modify the request. Then long group name is the name of the group. Then category regular, dynamic, and computed. So as we have seen, we can define regular, dynamic, or computed groups. So today we'll see only this and this. Dynamic we will take it separately. So let me again go back to my group. So okay, this is my group. So here student underscore admin is my group. So now if I want to see the members, I can click here. So it will show me the member. So currently this admin user is part of this group, student admin. Okay, so it has only one user as part of that group. Now similarly, if we have to define a computed group, I will just show you how to create it, because I have explained you how it works. So here if we have to click on new request, then I will say computed group. Then you can give any name, it is just an example. So then you have to define the group ID, access type, then the long group name. And now for you have to define the condition based on this, what we have earlier discussed. So here let me select this group, then I can define this. So okay, sorry, I haven't selected this. So here the good group category should be computed. Now I can click on this append group, and here I can define the group which I want to set as in the computation. And again I will say append group. So now the people who belong to this smart reporting custom app users group and student admin. So a user who is part of this group and part of this group will be also part of this group. So any workflow, any form which has permission for which has which has you give permissions to this group. So people from this group and this group will be able to access it. So this is how the computed groups are calculated. Okay, guys. Now we have seen the groups. Now with an example, I'll explain you how we can use these groups to give different permissions to different users. Now, as we have seen earlier, we created this group here. Let me again go search here. So we created this group student.admin, and currently we have only one member of who is part of this group, which is this user. Now, what I have done, I have created a this is a form, and there is a button on it. So if I click on this button, it calculates the discount. Suppose if I give some amount here, it will deduct it from the total fee. Now we will see that this particular operation, it will work only if a person is member of that group. So for this, what we have done here is, let me go to the developer studio. So I have one active link. this one. I created this on the click of that button. So here the permission of this active link is given to only student underscore admin group. So once you add a group here in the group form, it automatically will come here in the permissions. So you can see here, I have added this to the active link. Now we will see this. Okay, now let me initially do the calculation. Currently, I'm logged in with this admin user, or let me log out and log in again. Okay, let me go back to that form. Okay, this is the form. Let me search the record. So this is my record here. Let's suppose now I have to, I have given a some amount. Let me give something else, 2000, and click on this. So this active link is deducting just the total fee minus the discount. So it is currently 8000, and then I can save the record. Now, okay, so I have saved the record. Now it is 8000. Now I will log in with a user which is not part of the group, which is student underscore admin. So let me log out. Suppose this is a staff user. This is another user who is not part of that group, but he has access to this form. So let me go there. Search this record. I am able to search the record. Now let me again, instead of 2000, let me say I want to again give some 500 as a discount. So I'll click on this. So you can see nothing is happening. Even though I have access to the form, to the button, but nothing is happening because this active link which I have written will only work if you are part of this group, which is student underscore admin. Now, again, what I will do, let me log out. I will log in with the admin user again, and I will give permissions to the this particular group. Let me go to the user form. Let me search the record. So this is the user, and I will give him permissions to the student underscore admin group. Let me save this. Now I will log out, and I will log in again with this staff user. Go back to that form, search the record. Now let me give this 500. You can see it is working now. It is giving me the calculation here because that active link is now executing as I'm part of that student underscore admin group. So this is how basically the permissions work in BMC Remedy based on the groups you are part of. So similarly, we can define these permissions on forms. You can define on fields. So then different people will have access to different fields, and you can say they will have access to different forms. Even on forms also, if you define permissions, the people will not be able to access those forms if they do not belong to the groups which the form has access to. So this is how basically a permission works with the with the workflow, and also how we can define permission using the groups. Thank you.
Then there is a licensing part involved. Customer has to pay for the licenses, and then it depends on his operations, how big the operations are. Based on that, he will purchase the licenses. Now we have these different type of licenses. We have a read, we have fixed, we have floating, we have restricted read. There is one more addition to it called bundle license. This is just a latest addition they have done. But earlier we had only these three options. We had read, fixed, floating, and restricted. Now these licenses play a very different role when given to an individual. For example, if I have a read license, I cannot go and modify any record. So read license gives me permissions to read or view the data. It will not allow me to modify a record. So we will see how we can modify a record using read licenses in the next slide. But as of now, read license does not give me an option to modify a record. If suppose Gaurav has submitted a record, and then I will log in and I want to modify it. I have a read license, I cannot do that. Okay. Then fixed license is license which is basically a license which gives you all the permissions. So it is with you all the time. If you have a fixed license, you can do any modifications in BMC Remedy. You can open any form, you can do any changes, you can write anything, you can make changes to that particular field, form, any changes on BMC Remedy you can do. And this fixed license means it's dedicated license. It's a license which is dedicated to you. Nobody else can use this license. So if you once get a fixed license, it is dedicated to you, tagged to a user. Okay. This is basically a license which gives you a write permission on forms or on any operation you do on BMC Remedy. It gives you a write license. Then we have floating license. Floating licenses are again similar to fixed, but they are used in a shared basis manner. So floating license has the concept of 1:3 or 1:5. So I can have a floating license. I can allocate this to 5 people, or I can allocate this to 3 people. But only one person can log in at a time. So floating license means, suppose I have I have one floating license. I will give it to 3 people. I'll give it to Sandeep. I'll give it to Gaurav, and I'll give it to Pooja. Okay, 3 people have this floating license. But when any of this person, Pooja, Sandeep, or Gaurav, will log in into the system, only one person will get a license to do the write operations. The remaining 2 will get read license. This we will see in practical in system. Then we have this restricted read here, this one. So restricted read is something similar to this, but it has a different meaning. Then we have bundled also. Go to the next slide. This is basically the description of all the licenses. If you see here, now, as I said earlier, the read licenses, I told you, it does not give you a right to modify anything. But if you have a read license, if you have submitted something using a read license, you can go and modify it. So you can see here it's also mentioned, enable users to create, search for and display requests within their assigned permission. Assigned permission means if you have access to certain forms, if you have access to that particular field, then if you submit a request, you can basically go and you will be able to modify it. So here also they have mentioned it, that system server enable users with read license to modify requests that they submit. So that means if I have submitted a request myself, when I submit a request on any form, yesterday we saw that in the core fields, there is some information captured. Okay. So let's say I have submitted a request, or I have submitted a record on the form, but I have a read license. Then when I'll go and modify that record, it will allow me to modify it, because in that case, how it will identify that it is my record which I have created. Can anybody tell me how I can how the system will identify that this record was created by me? Let's say I have a read license. Sorry, yes.
Can you repeat again?
I said if I have let's say I have a read license. Okay, I will submit a record. Okay, it will create an entry on a form. But here, as per the read licenses concept, it says that if I submit a request using a read license, I can modify this request. My question is, how system will come to know that this particular user has a read licenses and I can modify, so he can be able to modify that record. How the system will identify that who has submitted this request? Submitter field. So whenever I am submitting a request, the submitter field will capture my user ID. So when I'll go and try to modify it, it will check if this submitter or this user has a read license. If I have a read license, if I have submitted it, there will be my name or my user ID tagged with submitter. Then it will allow me to modify. We'll see this in system also. Okay, don't worry. Then fixed licenses, as I said, it's a tag license. It's a assigned license. It is tagged with one user. It cannot be changed. If I have given a fixed license to user A, so the user A will be tagged with that license. I cannot allocate that license to somebody else. But this license gives him privilege or a flexibility to modify any record in the system defined by anybody. If he has a fixed license, he can go, he can modify, he can change, he can search basically is there all automatically, but the problem always comes in modification. So he can modify any record in the license. Now, the administrators of BMC Remedy who want to log in into Developer Studio to do the administration, this is like an important concept. So they need to have fixed licenses. In real time scenarios, we give only fixed licenses to service desk staff because they always have to go and open the ticket, assign it to somebody else. They're always there in the system. So we give this fixed license to service desk, and then we also give these licenses to administrators, because if I give administrators other types of licenses, they will not be able to log in into Developer Studio. So you need to have a fixed license to do the development. Without this license, you cannot do the development. Okay. Then we have floating license. There is no difference between floating and fixed. The only thing is I can associate or I can share this license with other users. So this is a shared license. Shared license does not mean that if I give it to 3 people, then 3 people will go and start modification. Yes, they can do modification, but not together. If one user has logged in, he will get that license. He can do the modification. The remaining 2, if they log in at the same time, when user 1 is already logged in, he cannot. The remaining 2 cannot do the modification. When user 1 will log out, his license will be taken back. Then it will be allocated to the other user. Okay. This is the concept of floating license. So floating licenses in real-time scenario, we give it to people who are working in support staff, who are working in shifts. For example, if I have a team in which people are working in shifts, so I have, let's say, 4 people working in morning shift, then 3 people working in daytime shift, and then I have 3 people working in night shift. So I have in total 10 users working. So now, if I take the licensing concept, I need to give them 10 fixed licenses. But these guys are not working all the time. Some are working in night, some are working in daytime, and some are working in morning shift. So they don't use their licenses when they're outside the office. So what I can do, I can give them this floating license. I can share floating licenses. Let's say 3 to 4 licenses I will share with them. All of them will get these floating licenses. Then it will be shared among those people. And then when let's say morning team will log in, they will start working on Remedy. They will get the licenses. So in afternoon, when afternoon team will come, they will get the licenses. Similarly, when night team will come, they will get the night licenses. The real reason why they brought this floating license is because this fixed license has a cost involved. The fixed license is expensive. This fixed licenses, if you want to purchase from BMC, it's quite expensive. So normally what they do, they give only few fixed licenses, like customer purchases few fixed licenses, and then they get the floating license. Okay. Then we have this restricted read. So restricted read licenses, you can see here, it enables users to create, search for, and display requests within their assigned permissions. Why it is saying assigned permission is that you need to have a permission to that form. You need to have a permission to the field. Then only you can do this licensing will work. Okay. Otherwise, even if you have a license and you don't have a permission to the field or a form, you cannot do anything. Okay. Users with restricted read license cannot modify any request, including their own. Now, this restricted read and read, there is a difference. Read, if I have this license, if I have submitted something, I can modify. This simple concept is, if you have read, if you submit something, you can modify. Restricted read, if you submit something, you cannot modify. That is called restricted read. Normally, this is given to the guests who are basically not, supposed to do any modifications on the system. So anything which is submitted as a restricted read license cannot be modified by the same user itself. Okay, it has to be modified by a person who has this fixed license, or he has a floating license. Okay, now these were from the start itself. When the BMC remedy was there, read, fix, floating, and restricted was already there. This concept was already there, and the licensing was already there. But now BMC, I think, introduced something called bundle. So you will get a bundle license from BMC, then it can be used with AR system server. Now it is basically you will not see this in system, but in when you go with negotiations with BMC, you purchase the licensing. So they give you a suit license. For example, they will, when you purchase a license from BMC, they will give you a bundled license. For example, you can use a bundle license with incident, problem, change. Then you will have fixed and floating licenses in the system. But in when you configure it, you have only these four options. So now the main important regarding the license, BMC always keeps licensing tricky. So okay, it's very difficult for people to understand it. That is why they make money out of these licenses. The BMC, the main focus is on licensing. So they make all their money from the licensing. So they always keep this tricky. Now they have come up with this bundled package. They sell you these suit licenses.